The day my vagina broke. What they don't tell you about childbirth. So, you've peed on a stick. This means you either think you're pregnant or you are. And if you are, in approximately 9 months or so, the baby will come out. You will now start to notice that mothers around you begin to impart their motherly advice, if you ask for it or not. We all started out as a newborn baby. Someone, somehow, birthed you. Do you know how you entered this world? What was that experience really like? Chances are you have little to no idea how your mum did it. She just did. It's just the circle of life taking its natural course, right? Mummies have been having babies for a long, long time. But not too much has changed over this long, long time. It can still only be done by women. Unless you're Arnie Schwarzenegger in that movie, Junior, which was the worst trivialization of childbirth I've ever seen. So it would be safe to say it's due to the fact it was only ever done by women, and it was only ever seen as women's business. Performed by women, managed by women. I would have hoped that the notion of modern medicine had improved childbirth over the centuries. And yeah, to some extent that's true if you think about the options around pain relief or cesarean sections and some more choices around hospital or home births. But why are so many babies and mothers still being harmed, or worse still, dying during childbirth? Why are some mums totally okay and the others are left with life-changing injuries and heartache? Why does childbirth still carry so many risks, especially given that we have become so advanced in understanding these risks? Every medical procedure will carry a level of risk. The doctors make you sign that piece of paper saying that they've explained everything in a separate appointment prior to any planned surgery. But somehow, vaginal childbirth seems to stand alone and is not in the same category as a medical procedure. Why is that? My gut feeling is because of the word natural. The power of the word natural put before childbirth swings the pendulum in the opposite direction away from any medical intervention. Natural childbirth and cesarean section have somehow ended up being pitted against each other. When you hear the word natural these days, you think of organic and pure, as it's being better for you. We all strive for what we are led to believe is better for you and your baby. One of the common questions I've been asked after becoming a mum is, did you go natural or Caesar? Like this matters because I don't know why this is a topic of conversation amongst mums. I've had other mothers actually say things like, oh, I tried natural and it didn't work, so I had to go for an emergency C-section. And this was really more like a whisper, like it was something to be ashamed of. I always felt really sad for mums who would hesitate or somehow feel ashamed of saying they had a cesarean. At the end of the day, it made no difference to my friendship with these women. But if I'm totally honest, at the same time, it did make me feel a bit special, like I was special for being able to birth naturally. Then one day I realized I was not special. I wasn't actually part of the Natural Mothers Club either. That was a load of bullshit. There was actually nothing natural about my birth. Perhaps in the beginning when it was going well, but when shit got real, having 5 or 6 more people who you don't know enter the room with metal tools, there was nothing natural about that. From that day on, I decided to call it what it really was, a traumatic vaginal birth. The word vagina is not an everyday word in average conversation, right? It has a taboo, private, and like a sexual connotation to it that prevents it being spoken about unless you work in the medical field. This uneasy feeling it gives people has led to the belief that we don't talk about it with the average Joe. You don't discuss your vagina with your postie or your dentist. let alone your dad or your brother. And there in part lies the problem. The number of women being affected by traumatic childbirth is immeasurable because so many women are not able to talk about it. They don't report it. It's too private. How can the people at the top writing the policies surrounding childbirth ever know the damage being caused if it's not even spoken about? A problem really isn't a problem until enough people talk about it and it gets louder and louder. You know, that good old proverb, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. For the very, very few close women in my life I've shared my traumatic experience with, not one of them felt they had this natural or cesarean stigma when they birthed their babies many years ago. It's hard for them to understand what I was trying to say about feeling we were pushed into pushing at whatever cost, as if the natural vaginal way was the only way. None of them had any clue that the damage could be led back to a policy written called Maternity Towards Natural Birth in New South Wales. This government policy directive from 2010 shifted mothers right away from caesarean births and pushed for an increase in vaginal birth, or as they called them, natural childbirth. Talk about galvanizing this natural stereotype. This natural childbirth ideology is what we were told and sold from the very beginning. It was even during the research of this book that I discovered there are specific indicators that determine if your birth is normal or natural, neither of which simply mean vaginal over caesarean section. All along, I thought I just had a failed natural or normal birth. Turns out that's not the case. My first birth was not normal or natural, just vaginal or instrumental. I think. This is the whole point. I have never had anyone to talk to me about my birth trauma. No one has ever explained what happened or to what to call it. So I've been flying blind, going off just what I thought. I had no idea. And you know what? I'm not alone here.